Let's see. So today we're going to do a guided meditation. I'm going to talk you through releasing and resetting, and then laying down and talking through a meditation. So we're going to start seated first, just to try and get to some common places that we tend to hold tension, just to connect with that so that when we come to the ground, we can let it go a little easier. So start to arrange your setting. Make sure you have lots of comfort items, any cushions and blankets you might need, anything to make you comfortable. So there are many styles of meditation, and some of them are very traditional and rigid and try to keep you alert and seated. But this style of meditation is about you being comfortable so that you can release what is stored. So when you get into these deep, restful states, sometimes the body in its intuition can just release some of the stuff that you're holding on to, and you don't need to cognitively think about what that is. You don't need to give it a label or a memory. You can just start to let the body do its work. So, settle. So we're going to start to come to a seat. Just to start, just to feel our hips. If you need a chair, use a chair. Just start on a seated position and just start to feel the spine. So what's going on in the spine today? Maybe give it some wiggles back and forth. Start to notice what's going on. Do take in the sounds of our environment so that you can turn off that fight or flight. So if you start to hear the rock climbers downstairs, it makes kind of a grindy sound, take note of it so that you can kind of know what it is and switch it up. So start to just take little spinal spirals, soft, just kind of working through all the movements that the spine can do. And then switch the direction. And then just moving back and forth, so hollowing out the belly and drawing the chest forward. Inhale as you open the chest, exhale as you hollow out the belly, starting to move with the breath. Inhale, exhale, moving through the spine, the shoulders. And then come to a neutral spinal position and pull the shoulders all the way up to the ears. Pull them tight. Really find all the muscles in the shoulders. And then squeeze the shoulder blades back behind you. Squeeze the shoulder blades tight. Then squeeze and draw the shoulder blades down. Still squeezing them towards each other. Squeeze. Find the muscles of the shoulders and do a quick check-in. Notice what the lower back is doing. Notice any places that are gripping. And then draw the shoulder blades all the way forward. Squeeze. And then take the arms out to the sides as if you're pushing walls away from you. Now squeeze the shoulder blades together and then push open. Squeeze together, push open. Finding the muscles in the arms, even the hands. Maybe spreading the fingers wide. Squeeze and push. Hold the arms out. Hold the arms steady. Bring the fingers really, really wide. And then make slow fists. Spread fingers really wide. And make slow fists. Really thinking about the muscles that make your hands move. Maybe even taking a moment to look at your hands as they move. And then hold your arms up. And we're going to corkscrew the shoulders. So we're going to roll the right hand all the way back, but we're really using the hand as a guide. We're thinking about rolling the shoulder, and we're going to turn and look at it. And then we're going to flip and go to the other side. So really thinking about moving through as much range of motion as you can in the shoulders. Thinking about undoing holding patterns. So undoing holding patterns. And once you get the hang of the movement, start to make it more fluid. Start to flow a little more. Moving through the shoulders. Maybe taking out some crackles and pops. Letting go. And then bringing the hands forward, we're going to flick away as if we're throwing glitter all around our space. Flicking our hands, flicking our arms, as if we're throwing sparkles. Let your hands drop into your lap. And we're going to bring our chin down towards our chest. Just feeling the back of the neck. And then our chin up to the ceiling. Back to neutral, ear to shoulder. Back to neutral, ear to the other shoulder. Back to neutral, and then a really slow circle with the head. So moving through all the directions that the head can go in as if you're trying to feel every single muscle that makes this movement happen. Trying not to drop the skull backwards. Just moving through the range of motion of the neck, finding all the tension in the neck, connecting with the neck. Take your circle back the other way, bring your head up to neutral. So bring the shoulders up and then let them drop suddenly. Bring the shoulders up and let them drop suddenly. So take a couple of rounds trying to really let the shoulders soften. And then make your way on down to your back. So I'm not going to come down to my back with you. I'm just going to talk you through it. So land on your back. If your back is not 100% your most comfortable resting position, feel free to prop yourself up in some other position. Again, the goal is physical comfort. If you feel like you're drifting off to sleep, maybe that's what your body needs. So let that happen too, don't fight it. So find a resting position. Start to connect with the parts of your body that are touching support. So if your hips are on the ground, connect with your hips on the ground. Feel the weight of your hips on the ground, and then all the muscles that hold your hips tight and hold you upright all day long. Allow them to start to soften and release their burden. So think about the muscles of the thighs, the muscles across the stomach, the muscles of the lower back and the glutes. Think about each muscle group slowly, softly, and whatever you can do to visualize and help this happen. Maybe you're sending a color here. Maybe you're thinking about your breath coming to this space, starting to soften and release the burden of holding yourself upright, holding yourself together. Thinking about the physical body. And then think about the shoulders and allow them to just soften into support. Allow them to release. Allow them to imagine you're just removing the weight of the world off your shoulders, washing it away, and letting your shoulders land into support. Releasing. And think about your skull, another big heavy bone at the top of your spine. And think about all the muscles that hold and support and keep it where it's supposed to be. Imagine sending refreshed, softening breath into this space. And with the exhale, releasing all these holding patterns, releasing the tension, breathing in fresh, and sweeping away tension with the exhale. And then think about the feet. Think about all the work that the feet do day in and day out. Imagine you could bring so much softness to the soles of your feet that your feet could be little soft, squishy baby feet, as if they'd never ever taken a step, slipped or tripped or bumped. Soft, squishy feet. Think about your ankles. Think about bringing softness around the joint of the ankle. And then imagine you could place little soft fluffy clouds right inside the joint, making space, releasing holding patterns. Soften inside the left ankle. Soften inside the right ankle. And as we journey around the physical body, notice if any memories come up and acknowledge them. So notice if a physical injury memory comes up or something's talking to you because it's achy. Notice it and acknowledge it. See it, feel it, be with it. And then soften your focus away from it. Soften onto the next body part. Soften onto thinking about the bone rather than the ache. Thinking about making space, giving a visualization, just pulling your focus softly and gently away rather than pushing and ignoring. And then imagine you could find the bones in your lower legs. And you could just softly swirl your attention slowly around the bones. As if you could send a little ball of energy around the bones, and as it meets the muscle and all of the tendons and all of the skin, everything, all the scars and holding patterns, that it softens and releases slowly and gently, working your way up towards the knees. And then land in the knees. First, finding the top of the knee over the kneecap. And then imagine you could place little fluffy clouds of space and softness right in the joint of the knee. Making space, undoing ripping, undoing every little trip and misstep we've taken. And then pay attention to the back of the knee, maybe seeing if you can find the skin on the back of the knee. Skin on the back of the left knee. Skin on the back of the right knee. And bring your awareness into the bones and the thighs. Long, strong bone in the thigh. Imagine you could circle around it, softening, releasing, and working your way up towards the hip joint, releasing all the way from the bone to the skin. And then landing in the hip joints. Imagining you could place little soft pockets of fluffy softness right inside the hip joints. Imagine just with your awareness, you could release the pressure, the work that this joint has to do day in, day out. Make space Give it time to rest and release its burden. And then from each hip, imagine you could slowly soften towards the center of the stomach, bringing softness from the hip joint across the stomach. And then make a swirling softness around the lower torso, underneath the rib cage. Imagine a circling, soft, gentle awareness around the lower torso, making space for all of the organs in our body. Releasing any gripping in this area, softening, and allowing space for our digestion to begin to move and be free. We have this fight or flight system, and with all this excess energy and confusion and upheaval of the world right now, a lot of us are stuck in that fight or flight. So one of the things that we can do is rest in this, bring our awareness to this area and soften and intentionally begin to let go. And we're not trying to tell ourselves that everything is rosy and sunshiny and absolutely okay, but we're trying to tell ourselves that for this moment, we can take a little break. We can feel secure in our own body. And we can rest and release our burden that we are carrying, even if it's just for a small moment in time. And feeling secure in our own body can be a monumental task for people. So we can build like we're building little tiny building blocks. Beginning with taking a moment to say something to yourself like, right here in this moment, all of my needs are met. Letting go of the monumental task of feeling safe and secure at all times and just coming to present moment and allowing yourself to feel secure in this physical body in this moment in time. And then slowly work your awareness up the rib cage, on either side of the ribs. Imagine loosening any gripping on the sides of the rib cage. Making lots of softness between each rib so there's more space for our rib cage to move and allow the breath to arrive freely in the body. And then bring your awareness just underneath each collarbone, right on the top of the chest. And across the top in front of the shoulders. Bring softness across the chest. And allowing the bones in the shoulders, shoulder blades, to land in the ground, to land in support. Let all the muscles of the chest and shoulders release and soften. Slowly walk your attention down forearms. Again, as if circling the bones and bringing softness, releasing, gripping, all the way down to the elbows. And then imagine you could undo every movement your elbows ever took and leave soft, fluffy space in each elbow joint. Slowly walk your attention down your lower arms, your forearms. Releasing, gripping, bringing softness. And then place your awareness in your wrists and connect with all the little tiny bones in your wrists. And imagine you could just release all the gripping of your wrists and allow soft little pockets of space to form between each bone. Undoing all the gripping in your wrists. And then bring your awareness to the base of each thumb. And run your awareness from the base of the thumb back to the wrist and back to the base of the thumb, like making a little circle from the base of the thumb to the wrist. Bringing softness here. Thumb, one of our most used part of our hands is right here. It's the part that grips. Bringing some softness and release here. And really checking in, really feeling sensation in this space. And then soften all the way to the tip of the left thumb. And then soften all the way to the tip of the right thumb. And then see if you can become completely aware of the index finger on the left hand. As if the only thing you can feel right now is your index finger on the left hand. And then become completely aware of the index finger on the right hand. Find the left middle finger. Find the right middle finger. Third finger on the left hand. Third finger on the right hand. Fourth finger on the left hand. Fourth finger on the right hand. And then bring your awareness to the palms of each hand. Notice if you're gripping or clinging with your hands. Maybe you're holding your torso. Maybe you're holding your hands closed. See if you can soften your hands. Maybe imagine there's a little tiny ball of energy right in the palm of your hand. And it's getting bigger and bigger and warmer and warmer. And it's starting to release and soften your hands. Notice where your hands are in relation to your body. If they're still gripping, and if this is hard for you, maybe you're clasping your hands. And if they're still gripping and they're not releasing their burden, check in on the rest of the upper body. Maybe the shoulders feel like they're having trouble releasing. Maybe the elbows need a little slight adjust. Maybe you have the hands positioned where the wrists feel like they need to be supporting the fingers. Oftentimes we need to put something underneath the body so that the body knows that it's not falling in space and it can release its gripping. Maybe you have a protective mechanism going, protecting your torso. And just gently see if you can begin to soften and release the burden of the need to protect yourself right now. And don't beat yourself up if this isn't for you today. Just notice and take notes. And then slowly work your way back to the neck. Landing in the center of the neck as if you could find the vertebrae in your neck. And imagine that you could place little pockets of space in between each vertebrae. As if the weight of your skull is being supported and now your neck can finally stretch and grow. Feel a little less compressed. Bring your awareness to the meeting point of the upper and lower jaw. Notice any gripping here. Maybe you're still holding the jaw on. See if you can bring softness to all the muscles of the face and the neck. Letting the jaw just land in the muscles of the face, land in the skin. As if it's slowly sinking into the skin. Checking on the inside of the mouth. Notice if there's any gripping around the tongue. Checking on the muscles of the upper lip. See if you can bring softness to the upper lip. And then follow your cheekbones and bring softness around the cheekbones. Around the temples. And then all the muscles around the eyes. Softening the forehead. And then land in the center of the forehead. Find the skin in the center of the forehead. And then imagine you could bring your awareness just behind the skull, right at this place. And then slowly, as if you can fall backwards from this space, bring your awareness towards the center of the brain. So landing right at the top of the spinal cord. And just place your awareness here. Notice what is present here. Notice that you can notice your thoughts. And then perhaps notice a little space in between the thoughts. From this place in the very center of the mind, imagine you could look back at the place we just came from, the back of the skull, right in the center of the forehead. And imagine this space is like a movie screen, like a projector. And all of the thoughts are far away on that movie screen, and you are right in the center of the brain, just watching them float by. Maybe they're thoughts, maybe they're worries, maybe they're images or colors. Just notice and observe. As if giving your mind, giving your brain permission to do what it does. And greeting it with curiosity and patience and kindness. And if you struggle with frustration with your thoughts, bring to mind the patience that you feel with your favorite pet. When you think there's something wrong, get down, give kindness. Your response is almost automatic. You don't have to think about it. Get down to their level with patience and kindness and concern and love. And try to decipher what's going on with them and how you can help them. Imagine you could offer this same kind of compassion and kindness to your own thoughts and what's going on in your own head. Stepping away from the world of should and should not, and just allowing what is present to be present. Take a second to just check in. Whenever you get trailed away in the thoughts, whenever you feel like you've run away with a story or get trailed away or pulled away, take a second to look at the physical body and notice if there's anywhere where you've regained tension. Return to focusing on bringing softness to that place. And then gently return to watching the thoughts, observing the thoughts, letting them float. And then see if you can journey from the center of your mind down towards the heartbeat. So depending on what kind of person you are, some people are a little more visual, some people are a little more physical. Maybe you can just imagine drawing your attention from your brain slowly towards your heartbeat. Or maybe you can give it a little visual, imaginative journey. Maybe you're a little miniature version of yourself. You're going to start from the center of your brain and you're going to walk down a staircase. And the staircase is down the spine. It's going to lead you down slowly towards the sound of the heartbeat. Getting quieter and quieter, and softer, focusing more and more inward until possibly you can hear the sound of your own heartbeat. Notice some of the tricks that the cognitive mind plays to draw you back, gain your attention. And again, try to greet them with kindness. Perhaps you locate the sound of your heart and your brain says, "Ooh, there it is." Notice it, acknowledge it, and then journey back down towards the softness and quiet, locating the sound of your own heartbeat. And then we're going to do a journey with our imagination. So try to fill in the details as visually as possible as we take a little journey with our imagination. We're going to imagine we're going to take a stroll in a forest. Drawing the details of the forest, there's a well-worn path ahead of you. Drawing the colors of the leaves, the shapes of the leaves, the types of trees. Perhaps there are flowers. Perhaps there are critters in the forest. Perhaps there's a soft breeze rustling the leaves of the trees. Maybe you can begin to imagine feeling the sunlight as it peeks through the leaves. Paint in the details more and more. Perhaps you can even begin to imagine the smells of the forest as you walk deeper and deeper in towards the heart of the forest. And then up ahead in the forest, you see a clearing in the forest, a meadow filled with beautiful flowers and sunlight and butterflies. Perhaps you can hear birds singing. You're drawn to the clearing, and then in the center of the clearing, you notice a beautiful temple. Paint in the details of the temple. See its roof, its walls. See warm golden light glowing and inviting from the windows. And perhaps you can hear the sound of your favorite song or hymn, or the vibration of many prayers that have been placed in this sacred temple. You're drawn towards the temple. And as you walk towards the temple, feel more and more the sense of welcoming. And see yourself walking up to the temple and opening the door and being flooded with this sense of welcoming, of coming home, belonging. And this is your sacred temple. Paint in the details of the inside of your temple. Perhaps there are pictures on the walls of inspirational people, family members, tribe members, wise people that have been before us. You walk into the center of your temple and take a seat, as if basking in the warmth of welcoming and belonging. You feel comfort and at home, peace and warmth and unconditional love. And take some time to rest here in this space, deep within the forest, the sacred space that's yours to come to when you need to feel connected and loved. It's far away from the thoughts, far away from the emotions of the world and the physical world. Deep within our sacred temple. And without bringing memories to mind or holding on to them should they arise, imagine some kind of visual as if you're releasing some of your burdens that you carry. So maybe you imagine you have a backpack with you and you're just going to leave it in your sacred temple without cognitively trying to explain what you're ready to release. Just imagine placing down, being ready to release some of what is held. Maybe you can imagine making a little craft, tying a little bow, and placing it here in your sacred temple. Ready to release the weight of your burden. Knowing that releasing our burdens does not mean ignoring that things happen, but that we're ready to let go of the emotional weight around some of the things that we carry. We're ready to let go of some of those well-worn thought patterns in our brain. And ready perhaps to write some new ones, change the pathway. I'll let that thought just be where it is. And whenever a thought or distraction comes in and pulls you away from your sacred temple, just return to painting in the details. The more you paint in the details, the more familiar this place becomes, the easier it becomes to come back to this place, your sacred temple. The more often you come, the more powerful it can be. And then before we begin to leave our temples, really look around. Notice the details. Making sure that you paint in as many details as you can so you know you can come back. And then see yourself leaving and closing and locking the door, keeping it safe. And then rewalk your path through the meadow, through the clearing. Notice the sunlight, the butterflies, and the flowers. Notice perhaps blue sky and clouds. And see the forest and connect with nature as you slowly make your way back through the forest. Back towards present moment in time. And then return to that center place in the brain. And allowing space for whatever is present here to be present here again. Noticing that you can notice your thoughts. And then perhaps noticing a little space in between the thoughts. fabulous place, feel free to tune me out for a little bit. I'm going to read from the Radiant Sutra, one of my favorite go-to books for when I'm feeling lack of inspiration. It's important to remember that a lot of these ancient texts were written a long time ago. Translated many, many times, but they were written in a poetic language. And they were really meant to be heard with the metaphysical heart rather than the cognitive head. So try to let go of cognitive explanation and just feel as if you could hear these words from the center of your heart. Abandon all these attitudes of wanting to prolong pleasure and avoid suffering. Let the heart be itself and feel whatever is there. Freed from clinging and avoiding, the heart regains its poise and revels in creation. Plunging deep into center, discover that the heart is moved by a pulse that is everywhere. So as slowly and as gently as we went into the practice, begin to come back to the present moment in time. Perhaps taking a moment to take in the sounds around you. Of course, now the rock climbers are quiet. Starting to notice your environment. Perhaps you can begin to feel the temperature of the room. And check in on your breath. Notice what your breath is doing. And then before peeking your eyes open, take a deep, deep, deep breath and stretch the body, trusting in the body's intuition. So try not to think about it, just reach and stretch in whatever way feels good. You've been still for a while, and sometimes this is the perfect moment to reset. Sometimes you'll just take the right stretch without thinking. You'll get some clicks and wiggles and adjust, and it'll feel fabulous. So try to trust, take that magical moment from this deep rest before the cognitive head is taken over. Stretch and release. And then really arrive back on the mat, back in the present moment. Begin to peek your eyes open softly, taking in the room as if seeing it for the first time, noticing all the details. And then end your practice curled up in a little ball in a fetal position. Connecting to the fetal position. So yoga has so many different techniques and tools, and one of the tools is repetition and familiar patterns. So we repeat a lot of things and come to them often for their benefits and for the fact that they are familiar. So we'll come to the fetal position, curled up in a ball. Connect with the present moment in time, but also take that time to think about your heart center. It's a wonderful time to be able to connect within. Remember it's there. Remember that we're born of that spark of life that remains unchanged by all of our experiences and judgments and happenings and layers. And that spark of life is that hum of the universe, our spirit, our soul. the little magic part of our center. Waiting for us to connect within and recharge, get to know who we really are beneath all the other layers. And perhaps today even taking a moment to consider the concept that that piece of you is not alone. Your bliss center is not alone. It's the part of us that connects to nature. It's a part of us that connects to other people. It's a part of us that can't help but smile when a puppy looks up at us. That feeling that takes over, that you have an immediate reaction, that's your center reacting. And you can't help but giggle because a baby is giggling, that's your bliss center. That sense of awe when you see a sunset is also your bliss center. Connect within and know it's there. And then come on up to a seated position. Bringing your hands to prayer at heart space. Connecting with this position of bringing our left and right sides to meet in front of our heart. This gesture that reminds us to accept ourselves as whole and complete, precisely as we are. May we all give ourselves a little patience for the journey that we're on, a little kindness and understanding and compassion. May we let go of the judgmental narrative that we think we're broken or damaged, or that we're getting everything wrong. And the more kindness that we give to ourselves, the more compassion we'll feel for others. May we all know a little less self-judgment. May we all fire that inner critic. May we all know a little love and compassion and community. Thank you so much for joining us.